Welcome back. This is the day of federal funds rate release. I have a feeling that this is what has been causing the volume to be so low over the past couple of days. I didn't take a trade on Monday or yesterday. Um, I have a feeling volume is going to be a little bit higher than Monday or Tuesday, but I have a feeling it's still going to be low until that federal funds rates release. But I have access to this with exo charts, so that's you know I'm going to just see objectively what it is. But um, um, because volume has been so low, I have a feeling that when the federal funds rate is released, there's probably going to be a very violent move. Um, it's just my anticipation. But again, like I'm not going to be trading during that. I guess the only potential for that would be if I was in a position and it was just holding really, really long and not going to take profit. That would be the only reason why I'd have to still be in a position. But I'm just going to focus on price action today. I'm going to look at volume as well. That's going to determine something pretty miraculous would have to happen for me to take a full risk trade today. But um, uh, definitely, I was just briefly looking at price action and go over it. But since I'm sitting here today, I definitely am willing to put on a position. If I deemed that I wouldn't be willing to, I would just say no trade today until federal funds rates release. So again, I do think volume is going to be higher. High volume to me is very important, especially trading a liquidity based strategy, right? Price is often, and we see this in the past 2 days very much, price doesn't seek out liquidity the way it does on high volume normally when it's low volume. It's to me when I see low volume, I see low share participants. So like people with low volume, right? They don't have a lot of money. So that way of viewing it, it makes sense then why liquidity is not being sought out the way that um, I deem it normally would be. So on a high volume day. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. I'm gonna mute it and just give updates, like normal. So the way that I see this is the only low resistance is this low right here. High resistance up high, high resistance down low. I only see a movement to this particular low right in here, all the way down in here. The only thing now is like, is there going to be a displacement where, so we did have manipulation after the open, is there going to be a displacement in which there can be risk reward because this is a pretty small potential movement? That's the only thing. So a daily fair value gap. Yeah, it doesn't really give me. So this is an hourly low resistance as well. So I would deem that as a higher card rules. So I'm gonna erase all of this, and I'm gonna make this hourly high resistance, or low resistance, I mean. I have to watch this as well. It might not give a fair value gap. I'd be looking for a fair value gap, to be honest. It is a change in the state of delivery, but I am interested in a fair value gap. I need to sit with this a little longer, actually. So, likely going to form a fair value gap, but no risk reward for that. I do see this H1, there's 1 hour highs up here as well. I view this as like a higher card rules concept. Yeah. So, while these did trade into fair value gaps, they are low resistance. So if price does trade into this low resistance on the 1 hour, I would also be willing with clear displacement, even though it might be a little choppy, to trade up into these levels as well. So those are the two ways that I'm viewing price. So there's that movement. It's challenging. Like, is a change in this? I haven't defined this, to be honest. Like, if a change in a state delivery is a high enough, is already a relatively low risk reward as well. So, like, in my eyes, a change in state delivery alone is not enough of a displacement. There was an inverted fair value gap technically with that, but um, I usually like to see a fair value gap form. So by the time that fair value gap was formed, stop loss here, risk reward is just minuscule. So um, that's the challenge with a small range. Potentially on a day where FOMC wasn't later, I'd be more willing to put on a low risk for that. But now that this is another potential manipulation. So, this H1 low has been taken now. So now what? Well, it was only high resistance below. This London low is high resistance. This H1 low has been taken. So this low is high resistance. There's high resistance above as well. But there's also this low resistance farther up. So with clear displacement, potentially um, go long. There have to be very clear displacement, clear creation of high resistance, because I would anticipate price to be, if it is to do this, I anticipate it to be choppier because of high resistance before it moves through. So the stop loss needs to be very clear and displacement needs to be very clear. Yeah, and so volume is higher, like anticipated, but it's also still lower than the 30-day average, which is also anticipated. So, um, just due to FOMC. All right, so I'm in for a low risk long off of this. It's not the most perfect. I'll be honest. I'm a little bit like I was a little hesitant to be honest, but it's moving nicely so far. Um, I'll move this to the side. The reason why I was hesitant is because we have all this low resistance just taken, created high resistance, and my stop loss is on the 1 minute, it's low resistance. But why I'm in this trade though is because price did manipulate this H1 low. So I see that as high resistance. So I'm like, okay, this is fine. I has a clear displacement. The 5 minute gap was inverted. And so I got 5 minute gap was inverted. So we'll see what goes on with this. Yeah, it's yeah, we'll see what goes on with it. I will say that I anticipate choppiness um, until above London high. So just preparing myself for that as well. If it doesn't, that's nice. It doesn't have to, but like I anticipate it to be choppy within this region because we're all within high resistance. But I do see the overall draw. The whole concept of this strategy is that, but there is low resistance up above. So if we have high resistance here and we do have lower resistance here, even if it's slow, even if it's a low ramp, price will eventually make its way up there. That's the way that I view that. And that's why I'm in a trade. Like I'm saying, right? My stop loss is technically 1 minute low resistance, but I'm entered this because of the clarity of the displacement as well as the higher card rules. So I see my stop loss as, because this low is manipulated, I see this still as high resistance, even though it's 1 minute low resistance. I see it as hourly high resistance. I did wait for extra confirmation with the 5 minute for IFVG to kind of combat that. And I put a little lower risk on than what is my lower risk. But other than that, you know, I told myself to beware that it'd be choppy, and it's choppy so far. All right. Well, kind of as I, um, probably could have done a little bit better on that in the sense of, given the way that this stop loss was, but we'll see. Yeah, it's not quite ideal, but we'll see. I would potentially, I'm probably done for the day, but I'd potentially um, enter, potentially enter with one more have to be low risk, and there'd have to be clear displacement again. Now that it took all that out. So I'm gonna make the discretionary call to stop trading just after this one. I do think the overall flow is gonna be up, but right now, like um, there's just too much high resistance up here. There's a lot of high resistance here too. The low resistance being right here. I think until FOMC is released, it's probably just gonna keep doing this, and then so we'll see. But I'm gonna get off for now, because I could definitely like if it keeps giving bullishly, like if it gives like a bullish push up, I would probably enter on that because it would be logical too. But um, given like where we're at right now in the day in the red folder and all that, I'm gonna get off.